Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Caitlin from Leave Me Alone Plants, and today we are joined by one of my favorite plants in my collection. I'm pretty sure I start every video saying that we're joined by one of my favorite plants in my collection because I love them all. But this right here is my Fabian Aralia. Now, if you hear the name Fabian Aralia, you may be thinking to yourself, didn't you do a video on this plant a couple months ago? Well, what you're thinking of is my Ming Aralia. That plant is very similar. It has the same woody stalk that this plant has. The difference in the two plants is going to be on the leaves. So while these leaves are kind of circular and very round, very flat, the Ming Aralia, on the other hand, is going to have those leaves that almost look like little pieces of parsley growing off the top. So two very different looks, but very similar care. So if you have a Ming Aralia, feel free to go check out that video. I will link it up here. And if you have a Fabian Aralia, like myself right here, then keep on watching and we will tell you how to take care of this guy. So as you can probably see by looking at this plant, it's quite a big plant. It's probably not even all fitting in the camera frame, I don't think. It's quite a bit larger than the Ming Aralia that I have, but I've also cared for these guys as little baby Fabian Aralias, and I will say that as babies they can be a lot more finicky. However, once they kind of get more mature like this guy and you have that big thick stalk, they become much easier. For me, this plant really gives me almost no trouble whatsoever. One of my favorite things about it is that it's pretty adaptable, for me at least, to different lighting situations. So I have this guy, of course, in the standing pot. It stands up on my floor and it's just below the window line. Even with that said, being right below the window line where it's not getting a ton of light, it still absolutely thrives. It's gotten a lot taller since I purchased this plant, probably because it is stretching towards that light, but I have not noticed any sort of negative effects by having this guy in a lower light situation. With that said, they can tolerate a bright light and they will of course like it. As long as that light is not a direct light, it will burn the leaves like many of the plants that you have. So really anywhere on that spectrum from bright indirect to low and medium light, this guy should be absolutely fine. Now as for watering, I only water this plant when it gets dry, when the soil is completely dried out, and you'll start to notice when this guy needs a little bit of a drink, these leaves will droop down ever so slightly, but I don't have too many problems. I've let this soil get pretty dry. Surprise, surprise, as always, I'm an underwaterer, so my soils do tend to get pretty dry before I go in there, but I really haven't experienced too many problems with him. On the flip side, if you do have a less mature plant that's younger, they will require a more frequent watering as they can die off a lot faster. If you aren't giving it enough water, you may start to notice that these leaves will completely crisp up and fall off. So if you are experiencing that on your plant and your soil tends to dry out, then I would probably say increase the watering. Now, I wasn't able to find any articles or evidence about this on the internet, but I do suspect that the bigger and thicker that this trunk gets, it probably stores some more water in there, and because of that, it is likely able to go longer in between waterings without having problems. Don't quote me on that, but it is my unprofessional expertise opinion. As for humidity, if you look online, it will tell you that these plants need humidity. However, I, of course, am here in Arizona, and my humidity is constantly super low because it is the desert, and I have not had any issues with this plant. I think, I have one leaf right here that has a brown tip, but the rest of them are completely fine. Again, I think that this might be a little more of an issue if you have a less mature plant, and by less mature, I'm not talking about like slightly smaller, I'm talking about like this big. So if your plant's in that size range, then yes, I would say probably it does need that higher humidity, but at this point, I really have not found that to be the case with this plant. Again, my humidity is typically, like 30% or below, and I haven't had any issues. One problem that I think people kind of have when they buy these plants is they'll buy them and they're not necessarily looking for it when they buy it, but then they'll notice later on. I'm going to try and bring it closer so that you can see, but you might notice these little black tips at the top of that. And myself included, when I first got this plant, I would get really nervous and say, oh my god, what's happening? Did I kill the plant? It's completely normal. What that actually is in most cases is they seal the top of these with wax so that it keeps in the moisture, and you don't have things like infection or anything weird just coming into the top of that where they pruned it up. So if you are seeing that, don't worry, it's completely fine. Your plant is still healthy. It is just a wax seal, normal in other things like corn plants or I can't think of anything else that does it, but anything where it's like a stump type plant, they will do that just for the safety of the plant. Now, as for shaping and pruning this plant, I have not pruned it since I've got it. I personally am pretty happy with the way that it is shaped right now. I think it is a rather handsome looking plant, but I am seeing some of these little sprouts coming off towards the bottom. Let me bring it closer. I know people are always like, bring the plants closer in the videos. I don't think you can see it anyway, but there's like little sprouts coming off down at the bottom. Now you can leave those, it's totally fine. It's not bad for the plant to leave those on there. It's just kind of my preference for these Aralia plants, this one and my Ming included, to kind of prune off all that bottom growth and just have the bottom be like a woody stalk with growth on the top. I think for me personally, it just looks cooler. I feel like it looks like a miniature tree, which technically it is a miniature tree, but I just personally, for me, aesthetically wise, I like that look more. So you can of course go in with little clipping shears if you have bigger ones, or if it is these super teeny tiny leaves, literally just pinch them off with your fingers and you'll be fine, good to go, no problems there. These plants are known to be somewhat toxic, so as always, if you have children or animals running around the household, be sure to keep your critters in order and make sure that they're not munching down on this plant, because nobody's going to be happy in that situation. As for how fast these grow, personally for me, this plant has been a very, very fast grower. I always really enjoy that when I purchase a plant. I am just an impatient person and I find it much more rewarding when I have a plant that's putting out all this new growth. I know that, for me at least, that it's healthy, and it's just exciting when you wake up in the morning and you're walking around and you see those new leaves on your plants. That's like, the most exciting thing. It's like Christmas morning for me to see that. So for me, that is another great benefit of these plants. Overall, really easy to take care of, very low maintenance. I'd say they're a great plant for beginners. If you're somebody who's not home a ton, if you're somebody who goes on vacation a ton, overall, couldn't recommend this guy more. Well, that is all I have for this video today, guys. If you had questions or comments that I did not address, please drop them in the comment section down below, and I will do my very best to get back to you in a timely manner so we can keep your plants looking healthy and fresh. Don't forget to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button, because as you guys know, if you're subscribed, which only a couple of you are, we're coming out with videos all the time. So don't forget to hit that one. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.